So I thought that this one was just a kind of a funny one to talk about because I had the thought and I was just like, what? So, why does red and blue make purple? Or violet, right? Purple is the highest wavelength of visible light, and we make it by adding blue, which is below it on the spectrum, and red, which is the lowest wavelength. Adding yellow and blue makes green, for context, which is in between them, and red and yellow make orange, which is in between them. So, how does red and blue make purple? A potential thought is that purple is the end of the spectrum to ultraviolet, and it has a higher wavelength but is less energetically favorable in our reality. This may be why the sky is blue and not purple, right? It could also be that a majority of the light is outside of our eyes' ability to see, and so it appears as a color we can recognize instead of showing the whole thing. This is similar to how we see white as a mix of colors combined, even though it makes more sense to see them as a rainbow instead. And so, pretty much, I think it's really weird that every other color, you can be like, oh, okay, well, I'll do this color and this color. And then the color, when you blend them, is generally in the middle or like somewhere in between, right? Depending on how much of each color, right? So you usually get a color that's in between the colors that you're using, right? But when it comes to making purple, the only way to get purple is by mixing blue and red, which are actually not in between it, right? But if you make it a circle, then, then it's, if you wrap it around, then it makes sense, then it works again, right? And so I just think that that's interesting. And it's like, okay, is that a real thing? Is that real? Like, why is that the case? Is it just because of our eyes, how they function? Like, we're like, whoa, what the heck are we looking at here? So we made it purple, right? The information was just like, we just don't know what to do with the information. I just think it's really, really interesting. And so a part of me feels like the reason why this is the case is because when it comes to red is the end of the spectrum, and basically blue is kind of like at the end of the spectrum, right? And so ultraviolet, right, is we can't see, right? But we also can't see infrared. So what I think could possibly be happening is that our mind is kind of looking at this ultraviolet light and going, what am I like? It can tell that it's being hit with something higher than like a higher wavelength of light, right? But it can't decipher exactly what that wavelength is, because that's not what our eyes are built for, right? So it goes, well, that's that color that I can't see, right? Which could either be infrared or ultraviolet, right? And so it goes, well, that's that color I can't see, and so it mixes that in, right? But then it's like, but there's also some blue in there, right? And so by basically when we look at purple, we go, it's a mix of blue and that color I can't see, right? And when you have red, right, like if you just have blue, then you just have blue and that color that you can't see. But if there's more blue than that color that you can't see, right? But when you mix in red, then there's blue, red, and even more of that color that I can't see, right? And so you end up with purple, which is this color that you can't see. Because, at that point your mind's like, no, but like this is not blue, and this isn't red. So like it makes purple, right? And I don't know. To be honest, I don't know. I have not done anything on this, but I think that that's kind of interesting that basically it's like, well, like it's the color I can't see. Yeah, I don't know. So, because initially I thought it might have been something deeper than that, like, what's the connection? But I think that it's really just our perception. It's our own perspective that is causing it to be purple. And, that's really all it is. And the more there's that color that you can't see, right, the more purple it becomes. I don't know. That's my theory. I don't know if that's already a theory. But if it is, then, oh well, you beat me to it. Peace out.